I live in a town that is, in their minds, overly religious. They really think that they believe in God and are good people, but, the Bible says that what you do to the least of us, you do unto Christ. It also says, thou shalt not lie, and on and on and on. And, a lot of people still use the phrase that Christians aren't perfect. They use phrases that justify sinning, such as I go to church because I'm a sinner, etc., etc. But the truth of the matter is, they're more cult-like than anything because they're so whacked out on religion. If you don't follow their ways, they think you don't have any rights when it comes to religion. And it just means that they're a little screwed in the head, taking it a little too far. I have 16-year-old kids who try to correct me on religion. And I'm sitting there saying, kid, I was your age once, and I was where you were, because I was baptized at a young age. And it also says in the Bible, when I was a child, I spake like a child, but then I grew up and I put away childish things. I'll give you an example. Immaculate conception. Most people think that that means that God impregnated Mary himself. But Jesus Christ's father can be traced to a Roman warrior who was in Bethlehem about the time or in the surrounding area where Jesus was conceived. He was born in Bethlehem, and they traveled from wherever they lived to pay taxes. So he was in her area at the time. And the reason why it was considered an immaculate conception was because she was a virgin and it was the first time she had sex. So they felt like it was a miracle that she got pregnant the first time she had sex, that a baby could be born to a virgin. In other words, that a virgin could be born. And most people interpret immaculate conception and the miracle with being that while Mary slept, a spirit snuck in and impregnated her. People think that they're spiritual and they think that they are smart. But let's take, for instance, angels and crosses. People use angels and crosses as something that they feel will protect them. And the truth of the matter is, an angel nor a cross will protect them any more than an emblem that is worn by, like my niece has a belief in the Norse gods and Loki, and so she has the emblems that look like a lot of angels. They look like angels, and it's like a Christian's angel. It's something that, that she follows and she believes. There are certain things that they follow. An amulet is worn by a Catholic priest, and an amulet is a sign of witchcraft. So it gives you something to think about. And Jesus Christ was not a Catholic. He was Jewish. And when it talks about gods in the Bible that was written by Jewish prophets, they refer to the Jewish God as being the strongest God of all people, which is why the Bible was written about all the Jewish history, is because this was the God of the Jews, and it's the one that the world recognizes, or at least 90% of the world recognizes as being the one true one. And I have a little bit more insight. I mean, if the Bible were true, And Jesus, and it says in the Bible, God says in Psalms, I believe, when you pray for something you want, I will never tell you no. I will never tell anyone no in a prayer as something that they requested. So all my life I've prayed and never gotten anything that I've ever prayed for. Never gotten anything that I ever requested in prayer. So I know prayer does not work. And it doesn't work for just a few chosen people. It's supposed to work for everyone. Because if you think you're a child of God, everyone is a child of God according to your beliefs. And God doesn't have favorites. So he would not be telling me no in my prayers just because I cut my hair or wear makeup. He would not be telling me no for a lot of things because somebody else doesn't want me to have it because I'm not dancing their dance or singing their song. Most Christians are more self-serving and self-righteous than they've ever served a God, a Father, or whatever, or anything in the Bible. And I've never met so many Christians who've been over backwards to make the Bible out to be a lie. Because, as I said, in Psalms, the part where it's saying, parents, if your children ask you for a loaf of bread, would you give them a rock instead? That is when God says, I will never tell you no. I will never say no to something that you request in prayer. So the fact that I was requesting that I get this money and I get it quickly and that I not have to wait any longer because I'd already done the footwork of God helps those who help themselves, been through college 6 times, graduated successfully every time. So I know for a fact that I've done more legwork than 90% of the people to receive these things. If there weren't so many Christians trying to prove the Bible out to be a lie because they think that it's only for who they want to give it to or who they want to help, and that they'll pick and choose who they help and when they help. Something else where it says, and where people tell you, it says in his time, nowhere in that Bible does God say, I will give it to you when I'm goddamn good and ready to. Nowhere in there does it say he'll do it in his time. God allowed Job to be tested for 2 years. 2 years. No more. Not a lifetime, not 20 years. He didn't give some 14-year-old kid the right to say, I'm going to test your faith by taking everything away from you for over 30 years because I want to see you hit your knees and you pray the way that I think you should be praying. To an adult, that right there is sacrilegious in itself because the parent of that child who's doing it to the adult did not raise their child right because they're screwed in the head to think it's their way or no way for another adult to have to do or dance the dance for them. But anyway, they are in fact more self-serving and self-righteous than they've ever served a God or God in their lives because they truly believe that they have to have control and they have to see it. Or the people are unworthy of it. And who gives anyone else the right to judge whether somebody else is worthy of things that they are supposed to receive through the heavens? and whatever. Let's face facts. If you believed in the Bible and you believed what God said, Malachi says from now on, it's a night air. From now on, we can say, "Blessed are the arrogant, who through their evil get wealthy, for surely evildoers prosper, daring God to punish them, but go unpunished." That basically says God doesn't waste his time punishing somebody doesn't waste his time punishing somebody so greedy and lying, cheating, and stealing that there's no hope for their souls. So to say I will never give up on you, that's falsehood as well. And what that is I will badger you to death till you dance for me. And again, our money says, in God we trust. Well, if you trusted in God, the law said, if you refuse to hire me based upon my religious beliefs, or refuse to hire me based upon retaliation from something else, you have to pay me. If you trusted in God, you would have paid me for that back pay and that front pay. You wouldn't have given it to who you wanted to. You would have given it to me. Because if you trusted in God, you would have given me the money. Also, if you believed in this country and you believed in the United States as something good, and fair, unbiased, equality, the preamble of the Constitution, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, no discrimination based upon age, sex, race, and religious beliefs. No matter what your religious beliefs are, no discrimination. That's what it says. It does not say you have to believe in God to have religious rights. Because a non-believer, that is their religious right. That is their religious belief. So, if you believed in God and you believed in this country, I would have been paid. If you followed the laws and the rules set aside by this country and by the Bible itself, I would have gotten that money 20 years ago. Not when you wanted to give it to me. It does not stay in the Bible anywhere. God does those things in his time. No, he doesn't. It doesn't say that in there. He never said that in the Bible. He says, parents, if you ask your children for a rock, if they ask you for a loaf of bread, would you give them a rock instead? You don't have the legitimate legal right to condemn one person's behavior while you condone somebody else's. You don't have the right to persecute and prosecute based upon religious beliefs or religious rights. You don't have the right to judge somebody unfit unless they can judge you unfit. And why in the world would a judge impose a judgment on me that he himself or she herself didn't feel like it would be fair if it was done to them? Because according to the law, it's cruel and unusual punishment if a judge thinks it's so horrific for it to happen to him that he would not tolerate it, and that the person should be jailed for even suggesting that they be treated the same way as somebody else has treated them, or as they have treated somebody else. So, anyway, bottom line, if they believed in God, if they believed that the Bible were true, they know they'll be in hell for eternity if they did not pay me 20 years ago. I guess their philosophy is, well, I'm going to hell anyway, so I might as well put it off a little longer. So anyway, have a good night. I don't know if my coffee's over or not. The thirst that drink quenched my thirst.